even going back in the earlier 2000s, man, just the stories they could tell you about just the locker room and, the excitement. Like, I'm friends with like the twins, Jarrell and Jamel Weaver, who played at Northwestern. Like,
Yeah.
they're good. They're funny dudes, man. Like, one of my good friends is named Carl Walker. He played on the '01 team. Played more special teams, but again, like, these are like my boys that I can, like,
Yeah.
hey, you'd like to talk some Canes football. Like, what do you feel? And obviously most of them still go back, and they kind of a little bit incognito. They kind of blend in with the crowd, and not a lot of people like know who they are and stuff. But like, man, it's great to just catch up with some of these older guys that
Yeah.
you went to the games and watched them play, and you build relationships with them. Man, that's fantastic.
Yeah, man. Yeah, it's fun. I love hearing the small stuff, because I've told this on the podcast a few times, but like when I really really started to just I guess when my love for Miami was really being strengthened, and it was like the most important time of my life as a Miami Hurricanes fan was, when I was in like middle school and I didn't really have a lot going for me, at least in my mind. Dude, I just would read about these players all day. You know what I mean? It's like Miami football was everything. So now hearing like the little ins and outs of the the stories from Green Tree and stuff going on behind the scenes, man, it's cool. And I honestly love hearing the stories from the Shannon and the Golden era, almost more than anything, because that's that was when I was younger and
Trying to get into it, huh?
yeah, man. So I mean, I know I'm in the minority there. I love hearing
No, but
about
there's
the
nothing wrong with that, man.
yeah. I mean, that's when my fanhood was really really strengthened, was like the Ja'Cory Harris and Stephen Morris years, man.
Yeah.
It's we had to take our lumps as a fan base, man, but that just I thrive in adversity though. So
I mean, that's the way to look at stuff, man. Like when that term pressure bust pipes. You know what I mean? Like,
uh-huh.
when things get thrown at you, man, it's either you can bend, you can break, or like
Yep.
you can grab the bull by the horns and and go forward.
Yep.
Um, and I think, like, man, I keep bringing this up, and I said this the last couple of days. Like, I'm so excited about what's going on at the University of Miami, like this
Yeah.
year. Like with Manny not saying anything, not doing anything, just putting the work in. And I think the players are just buying into that.
Uh-huh.
Like, last year I think it was all gimmicky, right? And then this
Yeah.
year, like, there's no gimmicks. It's literally, this is what we're doing. Okay, you're
Yeah.
gone, you're gone, you're gone, you're gone. Okay, I'm gonna do some research, and I'm gonna hire you. I'm gonna hire you. I'm gonna hire you, and let's get this train rolling. And then again, you see it through the portal. You see it through people recommitting. It's like something's brewing. Again, you still got to put it out on the field, but something definitely is brewing.
Yeah.
You know.
I mean, you're right about the excitement. It is hard to separate. I was actually talking about that on Slam Radio this morning with Larry. He just wanted my take on why it's different, and I mean, if you're giving an objective answer, it's not different. It's just the feeling is different, which is hard to quantify. You know what I'm saying? It's
Right.
people are like, well, you were just as hyped. And it's like, yeah, I was, but it is different this year, though. And I hope, man, I can be a doomsdayer sometimes, but I'm hoping that we're not being duped again, man.
Well, I mean, obviously, like I say, I want to see what we do against Temple, right? Like, literally,
Yeah.
you should be Temple by 25 points. I mean,
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
just, right? If you go out there and literally you just lighten them up and say you win by 40, 50 points, okay, now my eyes
Yeah.
are open. All
Yeah.
right. But then you got Wagner, whether or not they decide to come or not, that could be a whole different ballgame. You got UAB, and then all of a sudden you go to Michigan State. If
Mm-hmm.
you roll through that and you're 4-0 and you're coming back and your schedule is pretty favorable, like, who's to say that you literally can't run the table? And
Yeah.
next thing you know, like, that train could be rolling. Then you'll see all the bandwagon fans hopping on, and
Yeah.
you'll see the stadium kind of get
Yeah.
filled, and like, really, but where were you the first couple of games? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's we shall see. Let's put it that way.
Yeah,
That should
man.
be that should be the hashtag. We shall see.
Exactly. But I mean, the two most important positions in football, arguably, is quarterback and pass rush. And
we're
geez,
loaded.
Dude, so I mean, if you look at those two positions in college football as a whole, and you say like which guys in college football at those positions are like absolute lightning in a bottle. I mean, Greg Rousseau is at the top of the list, and Derek King is on the short list. So it's hard not to be excited, man. I mean, because those guys are absolutely lightning in a bottle.
They're monsters.
Like they are.
They're definitely monsters.
Yeah.
And again, so when you look at, and we've talked about this, you look at that D line, you look at, and it's not just the starting D ends and the starting tackles. It's the depth behind what we finally have, where we've been missing for years. Is literally even going back to the linebackers, we just never had any depth. So you're telling me, are you starting Rousseau and Roche? Roche? Are you starting Phillips and Harvey? Like you have Blissett. You have Elijah Roberts. Like you have so much mixture now that literally, you have Williams. Like you literally have all these guys now that they don't need to play 60, 70 plays a game. You have the depth to keep them fresh. And the good thing is too, like if you can get up early. So I've always been a proponent of not keeping your starting quarterback in a game when you're up 42-0. Like because what happens is you get an injury to say person, and now you have nobody who has game experience. Man, literally, if you're up 30-0, pull your quarterback, get your second team in there, let them run, let them see what they can do, because eventually through an injury, whatever, an ejection, who knows what can happen. You're going to need some other people to step up.
Yeah. I'm with you, man. And dude, could you imagine being like an opposing offensive lineman, like a tackle, and if you're running like a no huddle offense and you're on like your 14th play in a row without taking a break, and then they sub in Jafari Harvey or Jalen Phillips, and then you have to go against those guys being fresh. That would be horrible.
But, I'm telling you, bro, it's
yeah.
Ooh, could be a little tricky.
Yeah, man, I'm excited. There's big things coming, and I mean, I say it every week, but I think I'm speaking for the whole Canes family, just belaboring this point of like there's so much potential. The ceiling is just sky high this season. I would not be shocked if we make a big splash.
I think we can. I mean, I literally think that we could. Literally, I don't want to say. I hate the phrase. Let's shock the world, right? But I think there could be a point where literally you got nothing but people talking about you. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and the schedule's favorable. I mean, it's not crazy to think that we could go into the ACC championship game playing Clemson with only like one loss or so, one or two losses. Maybe even zero.
And listen, if you're at that point and you have maybe one loss or no losses, like literally, you should be in the playoffs, win or lose. What I mean, depending on what the outcome. But I don't see Clemson. So Clemson lost Justin Ross for the season. So so their main receiver. Now I'm not saying that they don't have depth at receiver, but like even if you watch a game, like watch a lot of the games last year, like Trevor Lawrence really didn't have the greatest season. And again. I think their scariest person is Travis Etienne. Like he's just a stud, man.
Oh yeah.
And so let's talk about this. Here it is: Travis Etienne, Najee Harris. Like you look at some of these all-pro kids and all Americans, blah blah blah, and decide to return for their senior year of college at a high prolific school. Yeah. But yet we want to have our underclassmen leave to go undrafted. Like I don't get it. I just don't get it.
Dude, it doesn't make sense. There's nothing to get, man.
Trust me, I don't get it, man.
Yeah, no, it's frustrating, man. I do think that's the difference between us and a great program is, I mean, we just in the past 5 years, even though we've had some decent teams, like our depth has really been hurt by that exact thing. I mean, could you imagine if we had Kendrick Norton and RJ McIntosh come back? And I mean, I can't even think of the other guys that left early, but I mean, there's been so many different times. I mean, we might not have gone 7-6, and then we might not even have had Coach Rick leave, and who knows if that would be for better or worse.
Well, even go back in the early 2000s. I mean,
Yeah.
if Portis doesn't decide to leave early, then McGahee really doesn't get on the field. But like as I say that, if Frank Gore doesn't blow out his knee, maybe McGahee doesn't even get a shot to get on the field either. So again, that's why I go back to having that depth. Because you need that. You never know.
Yeah.
Look at like Shockey. Even though Kellen Winslow had a great game and great season. Like, I don't really think he was Shockey. What happens in 2002 against Ohio State if we have a Clinton Portis where when McGahee, when he blows his knee out, we're not relying on like a Jared Payton to run the ball. Not taking nothing away from JP, but again, he's not the type of caliber of running back that the Portis, the McGahees, and the Gores were. So you lose that. There's just so many, man. You can go back and say, why did you leave? You shouldn't have left. And, oh, man, I don't know why you were even thinking about leaving, And in the last couple of years, it's been really prevalent with these underclassmen who just, they leave early. And then next thing you know, they're out of football. And, like, are you coming back to get your education? Like, that's always been one of my biggest things is why not come, unless you're like a first-round pick. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
Like so let's say Brevin this year blows up and he's a solidified first-round pick. You know what? You take that gamble, and you go bank, right? But if you're not projected to be, if you're projected to be a 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th rounder, why not come back for one more year? Why not have everything given to you as a college athlete? Maybe build up your draft status and go from there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I mean we had Brad Kaya on the show, and he talked about his experience. So maybe it's not the same the same scenario for everybody, but I feel like for most guys, I mean, you're probably right. It's just puzzling. It's puzzling to say the least.
I don't. From my understanding is someone told him that he was somewhere in the 3rd round range. But you literally have to stop believing what people tell you. You really need to get insight from like legitimate GMs and legitimate feedback on what they tell you. And then, again, you're going to make the decision you're going to want to make. But like, I think Brad would have benefited one more year being, coming back for his senior year. You know what I mean? So
he's kind of explaining, that his dream in college, and I don't want to retell this the wrong way, so I hope I don't butcher it. But he made it sound like he was interested in doing a film degree, and just said that he couldn't get it done while he was a player, so he decided to leave early so he could come back to University of Miami, get his film degree, and then just have like 2 different career options in life, So but who knows? That's I always thought that story was kind of cool. And dude, honestly, I'm a huge Brad Kaya fan. I was from day one, and it's been a trip having him on the show twice, and chatting with him here and there. So he's a cool guy. But
he's definitely a good dude.
Yeah, I'm like the biggest Brad Kaya stan in the world. So
I remember him because I was fortunate enough to build the Schwartz Center, right? I was the lead electrician to build the Schwartz Center, which includes like the player locker room and like the trophy room and whatever, the whole building. So I remember Brad coming through on his walk, like on his visit, kind of touring the Schwartz Center. That's where I first met him at. And then, then he had checked into, coming to Miami, and then they had a Canes Fest, and we were down there on Green Tree with the Schwartz Center being opened, and Brad's literally walking down like the sides of the Schwartz Center. No one really even know who he is. I mean, obviously I do. So I have a picture with my kid with Brad. Here he is, an 18-year-old kid, and I got my 2 kids, with pictures with him. You know what I mean? And then he's just a good dude, man.
Yeah, he is, man. It's cool stuff, man. And I guess we should probably wrap this up. We've been rambling forever now. But hey, Coe, I appreciate you coming on and filling in for Marsh today. And dude, we need to get you on more, man. It's geez, you do my job better than I do. So
Listen, man, I told you guys are doing a phenomenal job, man. I'm just here to help you guys, whatever you need to facilitate. You know, if somebody can't make it or whatever, like
yeah.